basically we bought a complete lot. Whatever was left. Stuff that's been collected for 50 years by real old school tool and die makers. This was their machine they bought 50 years ago, 1970 odd. The number of times that this kind of stuff ends up in a scrapyard, it just happens over and over again. People don't know what to do with it. So for us it's quite meaningful because we can continue a bit of their legacy in a different way. The old boy thought this would be very, very useful for us with bicycles. So we can measure the frame. They'll be able to see a bicycle. And they'll be able to see that old machine and these old tools that made scientific equipment and tools and dies were able to now make a bike.
Pyga started back in 2011, 2012, and Patrick was actually asked to go over and help a friend set up a factory in China. It's a Taiwanese friend who was opening a bike factory in China, and when Pat was there, he was deciding on his future. He had left Morewood Bikes, and during that time, he decided to start another bike brand, and that was actually the birth of Pyga, while he was helping a mate set up a factory in China. Yeah. I think it's always been a dream of ours to get manufacturing back to South Africa. It was just a question of how we were going to do it. Although the factories in the East are really good and 98% of the industry actually outsource manufacturing to these factories, there are frustrations in that it's a bit like a painter or a chef giving their recipe or their painting to someone else to complete. When Pyga started, Patrick actually welded the first bikes. Even though they were in China, Patrick actually welded those bikes. Spent several months over there doing that. What we've done now is kind of come full circle. We're bringing manufacturing back to South Africa. What it does is it allows us to control production much better from a point of view of quality, from a point of view of delivery, as well as the brand cachet that it's handmade by us. We can sit hand on heart and vouch for the quality of this and the fact that we know every bit of the process and get customers through that can actually watch the bikes being made. There will be products that we still outsource to the East, and we've done that fairly successfully over the years, but it really brings this kind of homemade artisan feel back to the product that it'll actually be made in South Africa once again.
Yeah. Patrick Morewood's first ride was a thing of beauty, and he has been very steady all season long.
Patrick was a racer, back in the day, in the formative years of mountain biking in South Africa. Back then, mountain biking being a really new sport, equipment was always a challenge, and particularly in South Africa. Pat tells stories of finishing a downhill run and literally spectators on the side handing him parts of the bike that were falling off as he was going down. So Patrick got into improving the bikes himself, and that eventually got into full-blown bike making, which became Morewood and now is Pyga.
Pat Morewood is indescribable. He's eccentric, He's an artist, and you know, he's finally getting back to doing what he loves best, making bikes.
Pat is an incredible perfectionist, and I think that goes through to his bikes.
He knows how to ride a bike, and he knows what he wants out of a bike.
We live in paradise. For me, I'm lucky enough to hop on my bike and ride through some of the best trails in the outback en route to the Pyga warehouse, and where I spend my working days, you know.
I think it's very important for us to be close to trails. Where we're situated here, we can ride from our front door out onto both the Howick and the Crouse trails, not far from where the first initial mountain biking actually happened in South Africa. So what we've done at Pyga is we've brought largely a trail riding philosophy and a slight gravity philosophy into marathon bikes and trail bikes. Our bikes generally have a very progressive feel.
Our slogan, Ride Different, is just that. You know, it's a feeling, it's hard to describe, but it's just that fun, fast, pedals well and descends like hell. It's, yeah, Pyga.
Howick's a cool little place, and certainly a place that's very close to all of our hearts in terms of where we like to ride and test bikes. It's kind of our vibe, you know. It's Howick is where we like to be. Yeah.
So 29th of September 2019, this is a momentous occasion in the history of Pyga. We are officially opening our aluminium factory, which is the culmination of our Bringing It Home campaign. So I'm the newest member on the Pyga team. I got involved with Pat, Ollie and Corin in January of this year. We were discussing the possibility of bringing it back late in January. We pulled the trigger in March. If this had been in the context of the East, we would have still been negotiating commercial terms. Never mind riding bikes, never mind commercializing them in a month's time. In my opinion, Pat is nothing short of the bike whisperer. He rides the bike in his mind long before he's designed it, and certainly long before he's actually built it.
The reason I do what I do is because it's what I want to do. I don't want to make bikes for other people. When I started Morewood Bikes, my main reason for starting to make the bikes then was because I enjoyed making stuff. When I started Pyga, I didn't have the means to do that. So we went straight on with working with Taiwan. It meant, well, in my mind, it was going to be easier. The fact that we didn't make anything was easier. We didn't have to have a factory. But the biggest thing that was a problem for me was I was sitting there feeling really demoralized, frustrated. It's hard to explain. It's like your hands are tied. Imagine being a rider, but all you can do is ride on a trainer, but you race downhill. When I wanted to make something, I couldn't. If there was a change that needed to be made on a bike, it would take up to 3 to 4 months. Now, making stuff it's easy. I take things from a practical perspective, from what I've learned since making stuff from the age of 6 years old. Each designer has their own ultimate requirement that they want out of a bike, and I've always had a certain way of doing things. People would question me about it. Why do you do it like this? And it's just a feeling. It's when I ride a bike, that's what I want the bike to feel like, so I do that. With the modern methods of making aluminium bikes, you're able to really do a lot more than you could 20 years ago. People now have realized that, especially with guys racing and winning Enduros and downhill races on aluminium bikes, that it's not a bad material. It's actually damn good. By us doing this shows people that in these times, in this country, while people are leaving the country and very negative about everything, we are positive that we can do stuff here. There's no reason why we can't do as good a job as anyone in the world, be it Taiwan, Germany, America. You know, when we started Pyga, the big goal was to make bikes again, and I wanted to make bikes again. It is a full circle. That full circle for me started 20 years ago. It's been a long journey. I've been through quite a lot of ups and downs, leaving Morewood bikes, starting again, spending time in China away from my family. But in the back of my mind, I knew that it had to be done. If I'm ever going to achieve something in my life, it's not going to come easy. Well, the Morewood family has always been such that we've been a family of designers and engineers, and always done great things, but never had anything to show for it, never made money and whatever. But that doesn't matter. It's about leaving a legacy for your family when you're gone. That's why we do stuff. I mean, no matter what you do it because of those reasons. So that's it.
I've wanted to ride a Morewood manufactured bike for my whole life, and I'm going to finally get the chance.
To be able to actually ride a bike that has been manufactured 20 k's away from the forests is quite a cool feeling.
It's everything. It's not just another product. It's actually like a real living thing. You've seen it being conceived from a sketch to a finished product and been part of that whole process, and then riding that bike, I think is a dream for any cyclist.
We're starting out with two models here at the new factory. First being the Slackline, which is an Enduro bike, 160mm rear travel and 170mm front suspension. Second is the Hyrax. That fits into the trail category. The bike is as strong, it's built along the same platform as the Slackline. It can take a real beating, as can the Slackline. The first time I ride one of my bikes, I think is the most rewarding, but that's pretty much for a minute or 2 minutes. After that, there's nothing better than watching other people ride the bikes.
For me, bringing it home is celebration of what is uniquely South African. Too often it's very easy to get involved in that kind of round the bright talk of, oh, it's so bad and the government this and politics that. But there's so much stuff that we've got that we can celebrate.
Uhambo lwakho luzoba nzima, uhambo lwakho luzoba nzima, uhambo lwakho luzoba nzima, kodwa ekugcineni, kodwa ekugcineni uzolunga, okuzolunga, uzolunga, okuzolunga, uzolunga. Uzolunga. wemngani wami wemngani ngifunda amasiko esintu mina angeke uthinte ngentuku nalengoma ufuna nebeshu mina ngigwedisa abamhlathuzo ngifuleni kusayo uthinte.
We had several people coming to work for us. In fact, I think almost every single person that's worked for us has actually bought the product first. Myself included, I bought a Pyga, ended up getting involved in the business. Richard, the recent partner, has done exactly the same. Mark, who's now working for us in sales, he bought a bike, ended up working for us. Barry done the same thing. So there's this real common thread of this genuine belief in the product and this love of the product and love of riding. Yeah.
Sometimes you get blasé about things, and you need to reflect on what happens every now and then. And when I do that, I realize that it's unbelievable that I just started something. That's pretty much all I did, was start something, and people believed in me, and they've helped me to get to this point, to get through this journey. Friends, family, acquaintances, people I didn't know before have all come on board. Everyone has been 100% behind me. We have brought it home, and we're doing it better. That's as simple as that. Yeah.
Hey guys. I think I saved it.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't a very good answer, was it? Yeah.